Well, good morning. This is Ian R. Crane. It's an absolutely stunningly beautiful morning here at the Kirby Misperton well site in North Yorkshire. Now, as you can see, there's still not much activity. There's a little bit of extra security activity this morning, and this follows last night's meeting between Chief Superintendent David Hannon, who is the Silver Commander of Operation Kingfisher, which is the designated nomenclature for the operation to facilitate Third Energy's operation and attempt to frack here at the well site behind me. Now, the meeting last night was extremely well attended, and at times it certainly got a little bit heated. And Dave Hannon certainly looked somewhat flustered. He made it very, very clear that his role is to facilitate Third Energy in what he called to go about their lawful and legal business. Now, the definition of legal in an early version of Black's Law Dictionary is the undoing of God's law. So whilst it may be legal, that does not necessarily make it lawful. But neither the British government nor any of the UK police forces are prepared to enter into any polemic about the lawfulness of this operation. They are purely there to facilitate this agenda. Now, David Hannon obviously had some support from the local community who, as one gentleman said, well, I just don't want my life disrupted. Well, if this industry kicks off, his life and the lives of his children, his grandchildren and future generations may be disrupted beyond his wildest imagination. So the disruption of Third Energy coming onto this well site with some 700 plus vehicles over the next X number of months or so is relatively minor compared to what may be coming literally and metaphorically down the pipe. Well, Dave Hannon also made it clear that his definition of facilitating peaceful protest is to permit one 20-minute slow walk in the morning and another 20-minute slow walk in the afternoon. Now, let me emphasize that that is absolutely a unilateral decision on his part. There has been no discussion with any member of the local community or the anti-fracking community, and neither will there ever be. And even if there was, any such agreement would have no validity whatsoever, because the law as it stands right now in the UK gives every individual the opportunity to literally protest in whatever way they want, provided it is peaceful. And the guidelines from both from the government, from the Crown Prosecution Service and the now defunct ACPO, the Association of Chief Police Officers, make it very clear that peaceful protest may indeed cause nuisance and disruption, and that does not necessarily make that protest unlawful. It is for the police to decide, and Dave Hannon made it very clear that he will be the sole arbiter of what he deems lawful. It's very, very clear to people who attended that meeting last night that Dave Hannon has indeed been given his marching orders. He stated during the meeting that he intends to retire in a couple of years, and so this may be amongst one of his sort of final responsibilities. And well, I don't think he's relishing the prospect, because the reality is that by stating that he is only going to permit a 20-minute slow walk, it's inevitable that things will get escalated. Now, North Yorkshire Police is not particularly well staffed. It certainly hasn't got the resources of Lancashire Police. It only has 3 custody suites with a total of some 60 odd cells, and that's to deal with all crime across this quite significant landmass in the northeast of England. So, and the closest one is some 20 odd miles away. In fact, they're all about 20 odd miles away. The good news is that there are active anti-fracking groups in each of those locations, in Scarborough, in Harrogate and in York, and so there really isn't any issue with arrestee support. So inevitably, of course, what will happen is that the police will, when they effect an arrest, will eventually process the arrestee and put them out on the streets at stupid o'clock in the morning. Well, as with every other location, there will always be people there to meet the person when they are disgorged from whatever police station they're taken to and taken back to a safe refuge for the night before being returned to Kirby Misplinton Protection Camp or wherever it is they want to go. So Dave Hannon made it also very clear that at the moment the traffic management plan, which I understand has not been finally signed off, actually states that the trucks will come in at 15-minute intervals. So you can see that what he was proposing was not a 15 or 20-minute slow walk in front of a convoy, but in a 20-minute slow walk in front of just one of those trucks in the morning and just one of those trucks in the afternoon. So I think that we can safely say that thank you very much for your not so generous offer, Chief Superintendent Hannon, but it's for each individual to decide whether or not that's appropriate. Personally, I think it's actually somewhat insulting, and it actually helps to add weight to the case that we are marching towards a corporatist police state, and the observation, of course, that the entire north of England is under ecological attack. And this shouldn't really come as any surprise, of course, because a few years ago Lord Howell, who just happens to be George Osborne's father-in-law, made the observation in the House of Lords that, you know, we shouldn't be fracking in the south of England, we should frack in the desolate northeast. Well, here I am in the not-so-desolate northeast. I'm standing in some of the most prime agricultural land in this part of the country, in fact in the entire country, and of course it also doubles as a massive tourist attraction, and a very, very significant part of the GDP of this area in the country comes from those two industries, from agriculture and from tourism. And as I've said many times, I cannot think of a single location anywhere on the planet where an unconventional gas field doubles as a tourist attraction. And as we do know, everywhere where this industry has been established, it has devastated the agricultural industry. It doesn't matter where you look, and what I would absolutely implore is that people look at the research of Robert Oswald and Michelle Bamberger, and their research from, I think it was about 2011 or 2012 even, but it was turned into a book called The Real Cost of Fracking. And in their study, they looked at the impact across a number of states in the US, and they looked at the significant negative impact that this industry has had on agriculture, both in terms of arable agriculture and livestock. And anybody who believes that it's going to be any different here in the UK, then all I can say is that not only are they delusional, but unfortunately what they're doing is acquiescing to an industry that will, at some juncture, it's not if, it will absolutely destroy this amazing landscape, to say nothing of the impact, the most likely impact on the water. Now, not all of the water in this area is potable, drinkable, and so, you know, it is a bit selective. And certainly the well site just 10 miles to the east of here on Ebbston Moor, which is now a joint venture between Third Energy and INEOS, that goes straight through the aquifer that provides Scarborough with its water supply. So if there is any damage to that aquifer in any way, shape or form, then the community of Scarborough, which is I think a community of some 80-odd thousand people, is going to be without fresh water, and there are going to have to be other arrangements made. So this is really, really important. Third Energy have posted notices around the village stating that work will commence here on or after September the 13th, which is Wednesday of next week, so effectively it's 1 week today. Do I trust that statement? Of course not. And the police have put up some 5 cameras around the area, so this is Big Brother. These are villages that hardly ever see any police presence, apart from maybe occasional Friday night disturbance in Flamingo Land or whatever. But they're about to see more police focused on this small area than probably they've seen since the miners' strike 1984. And of course, what is different here is that the miners' strike was not able to for whatever reason, get the support of Middle England. But Middle England absolutely understands that if this industry kicks off, it will undeniably have a negative impact on their lives and the lives of their descendants. So, obviously we're not yet at day one. We haven't got any truck movements here yet, but we are moving in that direction. And it's crucial that people start to think about what it is that they can do to help prevent this industry from becoming established in the UK. Obviously over the other side of the Pennines, the Press the New Road campaign is ongoing. It's now in its 9th month. Quadrilla are some 5 months behind schedule. They have massive problems with the well, and as I stated previously, the Environment Agency are not exactly being transparent and sharing the information about what problems it is that Quadrilla are experiencing. And there's an opportunity tomorrow night, that's Thursday the 7th, 8th of September, in the village hall at Kirkby Misperton, and it's an opportunity for residents and other concerned citizens around North Yorkshire to come to the Kirkby Misperton village hall and meet the Environment Agency, meet the Health and Safety Executive, meet with Public Health England and also representatives from Rydale District Council, and ask them the questions. And what you're going to find is that they are in absolute denial about any of the evidence which shows that this industry has a track record that is absolutely abysmal. Yet they will blag and they will say, no, we've got the regulations in place, and they haven't even got the resources, even though even if they did have the regulations, which they haven't got the resources and they haven't got the expertise. So this is pure blag. So it's crunch time. This is potentially the first frack in the UK since Quadrilla messed up at Priest Hall in 2011, which led to the moratorium. And this is the first frack, obviously, then since the moratorium was lifted in December of 2012. So even if they do manage to get the fluids into the ground, it will still be close on 5 years. Now, obviously, there are many who argue, well, you know, let's just see if they can do it safely. But let's actually understand that what has occurred everywhere else is it's often taken 2 to 3 years before the problems start to manifest. In Queensland, in southern Australia, it was 2 years before the farmers really started to comprehend the magnitude of the damage to the Great Artesian Basin, loss of pressure, the contamination of the water that was coming out of their aquifers, and the subsequent devastation of the agricultural industry right across the Darling Downs. And if you want to take a look at the impact of that, then just put George and Helen Bender into your search engine, and you will see the tragic story of George Bender, who 2 years ago this October sadly took his own life after fighting with the gas industry for 10 years, trying to seek some acknowledgement and obviously ultimately compensation for the damage to his livelihood as a result of their presence in the area. So it's not rocket science. You know, the industry wants you to just take everything they say at face value. And as we saw last week, they have an extremely casual relationship with the truth. The ease with which they disgorge their lies, their deceit, their obfuscation is truly staggering. And in fact, it actually is the sort of clinical definition of a sociopath, to be able to lie in such a way and actually convince themselves that it's the truth somehow. So, you know, perhaps it's a clinical condition rather than just a quest for money. Who knows? But it is time to get off the fence. It is time to get to Preston New Road if you live on the west side of the Pennines. It's time to come to Kirkby Misperton if you live on the eastern side of the Pennines. And it's time to support the campaigns down in the south at Billingshurst, at Leith Hill, and potentially soon to be just outside Bognor at Lidsey. So there's a lot going on right now. The government is trying to distract you with fear porn, with the threat of World War III, which of course the global banksters are desperate to ignite. But you know, this is a distraction. You know, keep you in fear. You know, don't look at the detail. Just look at the headlines and get on the train, go to work, you know, do what you need to do to get those slave tokens, and then back home, spend a bit of time with your family, you know, just veg in front of the TV, listen to the BS that they are spewing out, and then repeat the same thing tomorrow. So we're not obviously going to reach those people, but increasingly more and more people are starting to take a look and use their powers of discretion and discernment, and they are realizing that, you know, if the government can lie on one thing, then what else is it lying about? And here we are in a very, very conservative, with a small c and a big C, part of the country, and the speed with which people are starting to realize that actually, you know, the government is just looking after a relatively small percentage of the population, and now it's even putting those people at risk by looking to destroy, because that's what will happen, the water supply of the UK. If you do have any questions, please go meet with the people at Prestonleigh Road, or come to the Kirby Misperton Protection Camp, or the Leith Hill Protection Camp, or attend one of the local group meetings. Just put, you know, anti-fracking and then your town and or your county, and see the groups that are established in your area. Or if you can't find a group, maybe look at this industry, look at the research that's available, some 900 academic papers produced over the last few years, supporting everything that I'm sharing with you. But like I've always said, don't take anything I say at face value. Do your own research, because that's one thing that you'll never hear the industry or the government say. The last part of 2017 is going to be absolutely seminal in determining the future of the UK. You know, these people will dismiss what's occurred in Texas, in Colorado, in Pennsylvania, in Louisiana, and southern Queensland. They will dismiss it. They'll say, no, it's not happening. But they have to live in some alternate reality to actually believe that. Or, as I said, be somewhat unwell psychologically. Just do your own research, make your own decision, and then please come join one of the actions at either Prestonleigh Road or here in Kirby Misperton. There has never, ever been a time that's more important in the ecology of this country than right now. We'll be giving you regular updates, so follow me on Twitter. That's at Ian R. Crane. I'll be giving fairly regular live stream updates on Facebook. You can follow the Kirby Misperton Protection Camp page on Facebook, or also on Twitter at KM Protectors, to keep abreast of what's occurring. But better still, come down and join us. Meanwhile, you have a good day. We're going to be spending the day with members of the local community, watching what goes on here. Obviously, we trust these guys about as far as we can throw them over this fence, and we'll be ready when the trucks start rolling. And Chief Superintendent Hannon, I wish you know that you had an easier final 2 years of your I'm sure outstanding police career, but as you said last night, you have a job to do. Well, hopefully you have a conscience as well. And I know that many of your officers have a conscience, because some of them have shared their thoughts with us. So we're going to have to see what occurs over the next few weeks. But if you think that one 20-minute slow walk in the morning and one 20-minute slow walk in the afternoon is an acceptable proposition, then sadly you're very much mistaken. That said, I appreciate you laying your cards on the table from the get-go, and we will of course plan accordingly. Catch with you later.